Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame. Your boy Booker T, 6-time world champ, 2-time Hall of Famer with Brad Gilmore. They call him the GOAT. We all know that, but guys, we got a very special guest stepping inside the Hall of Fame. And I tell you right now, guys, if you look at her stats, not only is she stepping inside the Hall of Fame right now, but one day soon, she will be making that walk. Guys, welcome Alexa Bliss. How you doing, girl?
Fantastic, and thanks for that intro. That was one heck of an intro. I appreciate that.
I actually can talk. People on television, they try to constrain me a little bit, and it's hard to actually be what they want to be when I know exactly who I am. But more than anything,
impressive.
I appreciate it. But welcome inside the Hall of Fame. How you doing right now? You seem like you got a whole lot on your plate.
I am fantastic. I am currently helping my boyfriend move right now on top of, yesterday I had media interviews for the podcast launch and, everything going on.
Uncool. You get the plug. You got to get the plug out there. All right. But awesome. The thing is, man, you have done things a certain way, coming through life. I got a movie that I always quote. It's a quote from Beowulf. It was a scene where the leader told a guy, give this man a gold piece and send him home. He has a story to tell. And I feel like Alexa Bliss have a story to tell. I got a story. Brad has a story to tell. But for yourself, I look back and I say, man, what would a 15, 16-year-old Alexa Bliss be doing right now? I know what I'll be doing. I have a breakdancing, contest with somebody. I'll be trying to get in a talent show or something like that. But talk to me about, a 15, 16-year-old Alexa Bliss.
Oh, man. 15, 16-year-old Alexa Bliss, oh, man, was trying to be the center of attention in every room that she walked in. It's what's crazy about Alexa Bliss as the persona. At first it was so opposite of what I am in real life, and being able to marry the two has always been a goal of mine, and it's been so fun. And 15, 16-year-old Alexa Bliss would be, I don't know, I guess bullying girls in the hallway at school and trying to steal every guy's boyfriend, and basically every girl that I went to high school with is what Alexa Bliss embodies and was, especially at 15, 16 years old, trying to be the center of attention for sure.
And that's what I want to talk about, because there's so many young Alexa Blisses out there right now, and you really you got to understand the power that you have. We really don't realize it sometime until someone come up to us and boom, a light bulb goes off. I was at McGregor Park one time, and this little kid, he came up to me. I grew up in the ghetto, and this little kid came up to me and he goes, I want to be like you when I grow up. And I go, wow, man. I never imagined something like that. But then that's when I realized the responsibility and how big, my words and everything that I did. How did, that affect you later on, bullying the kid, earlier in life, and then growing up, in life, and perhaps one day have to teach your daughter, how to deal with stuff like that?
Well, to clarify, I was not a bully growing up.
Alexa Bliss was the bully.
Right. Yes, Alexa Bliss, the character persona was. Yeah. I was not. I was actually bullied growing up.
Well, that's what I need, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I was bullied growing up. I was actually jumped in high school, and it actually made me switch schools because I ended up getting jumped. And I remember it was the day before Christmas break and for school, and I was walking down the hall with my boyfriend, and I got punched in the back of the head and jumped. And it was just because this girl wanted to be a part of this little group, and they were like, all right, you got to jump someone, and I was an easy target. And I remember that Christmas, I couldn't really see anything because my eyes were swollen shut. I still have a scar right here. That scar right there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is from an acrylic fingernail going into my arm and getting lodged in there.
I can still see the little the nail mark. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my scar.
Wow.
And I remember thinking after that, I was just like, I would never do that to someone. Like, who in their right minds would actually just fathom thinking just, oh, I'm just going to jump this random person. And so it made me switch schools. And after I switched schools, I ended up, standing up for myself more. And the Alexa Bliss persona is basically every girl I went to high school with. And so what's funny is, like you say, a child comes up to you and is, saying, I idolize you, I look up to you. I've actually had, because of the persona and the character that I've portrayed, I've had kids be almost afraid to come up to me at first when I was, at the top of like my game, as Raw Women's Champion, SmackDown Women's Champion, I was at my meanest in the ring. And there were kids actually almost afraid to come up to me. And I still get the, like, people that I hang out with, people are like, why do you hang out with her? She's so mean. And it just shows, that we do such a good job portraying these characters. But also on the other end of that, when I had the storyline with Nia Jax, that was very near and dear to my heart, that whole storyline, because, it was about body shaming. It was about bullying. And this was something that her and I had both gone through. We had both gone through situations where we need to focus on body positivity. And so we talked about, we're going to make this as real as possible. We're going to make this storyline. We sat down and she would tell me what would trigger her to feel real emotion. And I would tell her what would trigger me to feel real emotion, because people do look up to us. People look at us as, role models and our characters and our personas, and they want us to be relatable. And so when we told that story, it was to show that the bullies never win, that no matter how evil and condescending and mean you can be, if someone's getting bullied, it shows the bullies never win.
Man, we're here with Alexa Bliss right now. We're promoting a new podcast, Uncool, and that's the story. That's the story I was talking about. You have a story to tell. Give this woman a gold piece and send her home. She has a story to tell. That's exactly what I'm talking about. My story was Ray Gray, man. Ray Gray was a kid that bullied me when I was in school. Ray Gray wanted to take my sandwiches every day. He wanted to take my lunch, and my mom used to make me some of the best ham and cheese sandwiches.
Oh yeah.
Man, one day, I gave Ray Gray my lunch, but I think I gave it to him because I don't think I was scared of him, but I go, this kid don't have any lunch. Go ahead, you can have it, man. And I gave it to him. Then the next day he wanted it again. And I go, bro, I got to eat them, and, I'm hungry. And he goes, if you don't give me your lunch, I'm going to beat you up after school. And I go, all right, well, we're going to have to fight after school then. And I remember my brother, he was like in the 6th grade, and I was younger, but we were still in the same school. And I told my big brother, Stevie, I said, hey, man, I'm going to have a fight. Just watch my back, man. Make sure nobody jump in. And he said, all right. And I stood my ground, and the kid actually backing off. We actually didn't even have a fight. I had no more problems with Ray Gray. Your story of, standing up for yourself and being bullied, like I said, it's a lot of young girls that's going through the same thing that you went through back in the day, and to hear it from you, trust me, it's a whole lot different than coming from their mom. And I don't know why, but it is. And one other thing, you're gonna be great for podcasts. I mean, you're natural. You definitely know how to flow and keep the action going. But you was talking about it as far as being SmackDown Women's Champion, Raw Women's Champion, Tag Team Champion, Triple Crown winner. You've done so much in the wrestling business in such a short time. And me personally, I never ask a woman their age or anything like that. We know you're 5'1". I'm not going to even ask you your weight. We'll just call you a featherweight. Okay? All right? We'll just go there. But
I like it.
did all the things that you've gone through, even the wrestling side, and now getting to the podcast, Uncool, is that, all the work, prepared you for this situation right now? Because I always say preparation is the only luck you're ever going to have. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Oh man, preparation for the podcast. It's so crazy because I remember I was approached by the podcast team. They're like, hey, would you ever consider doing a podcast? And I was like, I guess. About what? You know what I mean? I just didn't know. Like, I was like, what would I talk about? And they were like, well, we think you'd be good at doing a podcast. And I was like, and the literal words out of my mouth was, well, I love to talk and I love to talk to people. So I guess that works. I was like, cause I wasn't familiar with the podcast world. I hadn't really listened to a lot of podcasts because when we're on the road, I like to listen to music. I'm really big on music and different, genres of music, especially like, the nostalgic stuff for me growing up with was the 90s music, the 2000s.
Guns N' Roses. Yeah.
Yeah. Just all that good stuff. And that's kind of where I vibe out to. And so when we came up with the idea of the podcast, it was almost going to be super character driven. It was going to be Alexa Bliss's podcast. What would Alexa Bliss talk about? Alexa Bliss would talk about coffee. Alexa Bliss would talk about, being a champion. Alexa Bliss would only interview WWE superstars.
Yeah.
So we kind of wanted to branch out from that, and it became so many different things. We did a few demo episodes with a couple WWE superstars, and we found in the demo episodes, when we were just trying stuff, just throwing stuff against the wall, seeing what sticks, we found that talking about growing up was entertaining and made everyone so relatable, especially growing up. I used to watch Monday Night Raw with my family, and I just thought people grew up to be WWE superstars. I just, in my head, that's what they did. They just grew up and became The Undertaker. You know what I mean? Like, in my head, that's just how it worked. And so I didn't know about, indie wrestling. I didn't know about, wrestling schools and everything like that. I started WWE. My first bump in a ring was at NXT. And so I wasn't familiar with, the whole culture of it. So it's so cool to be able to kind of break down that, to find out who they were before they were the Miz. And that's the relatable, because, growing up, I was a very awkward teenager, very awkward, could not speak in front of more than 5 people at a time. I was very shy, very insecure, especially after being bullied and being jumped. And I had eating disorders and depression. And so I wanted to always save those stories for someone to relate to, because like you said, it's differently when it comes from someone of, that you look up to, opposed to your mother. My mother had dealt with eating disorders as well growing up. And so when she would tell me I was going to be okay, it didn't mean as much to me, because, I'm like, you're my mom, you're supposed to say that. Yeah. So I always wanted to be that voice of people, like, hey, you can go through these things and it doesn't have to define you, but it can help you get to where you're going. It can help you succeed in the end. And so that's why it was so important for me to have these people that people look up to tell their stories, talk about their awkward moments, because everyone has them. Everyone has a funny story. So we thought it would be kind of fun if we interviewed the people that I looked up to growing up. The guys from NSYNC or Hanson and Ryan and, The Miz, Dolph, just all these fun people that, people look up to. And we're like, you know what, you were probably awkward at one point.
Definitely. I was that kid. I made my own clothes. I would say I altered my own clothes when I was.
Perfect.
I used to sew and do all that kind of stuff. I used to cut my T-shirts and then put them back together with bobby pins, different colors.
Yeah.
And so it's always different. I was kind of like a punk rocker at times. I remember stealing one of my brother's favorite pair of pants, and I was in a dance contest in this talent show. We had these smoke bombs that we had got from the fireworks shop. We wasn't supposed to use them, but we wanted some smoke effect. And the smoke, actually when we lit them, we was in these boxes. We lit the little fuse, and then the thing went everywhere, and it got on my butt. Literally, my butt was on fire. I came up out of that box, going crazy, but needless to say, we didn't win that contest. We did not win that contest. Brad, I know you got something.
Well, wait, I will say, I'll echo your same sentiments. Alexa, the podcast is great. I listened to your first 2 episodes today with The Miz and Lance Bass. Now, I'm a big 90s and 2000s music lover, and NSYNC was always in my house. It was actually the first concert I ever went to was a NSYNC concert when I was a kid. So you had Lance Bass on, which I'm sure is cool. And I guess my question is the podcast also a good excuse to reach out to these people that, like you said, you always looked up to and have them on, like a Lance Bass?
Oh, 100%. I also interviewed Chris and Joey too, but I think they're going to be more of like a web social media kind of bit, because it was so funny interviewing them, because they just kept talking over each other. And like, whenever someone was like, oh, I did this, Joey was like, no, you did it. You fell. And like, it was just so funny. They were just calling each other out the whole time. But yeah, it's been so awesome. I never in a million years did I think I would ever talk to Taylor Hansen or, John Heater, that's Napoleon Dynamite, and, Lance Bass. And I actually called Lance out too. Cause I was like, I saw you at Nationwide Arena. I told you I loved you and you didn't say it back. Like, how many people get to tell their childhood crush, I told you I loved you. You didn't say it back. I was like, it's fine. We'll chat later. No big deal.
Oh man, that's pretty cool. What's really cool is they know who you are now.
That
That's
was
the cool part.
crazy.
How does that make you feel? Because I remember, running into B.B. King one time, great blues singer, and he knew who I was, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me, B.B. King know who I am." I couldn't believe it. So how did that make you feel when something like that happens?
Yeah, and especially, I think I had that biggest moment with Jarrett from Bowling for Soup. I had listened to Bowling for Soup growing up my entire life. They were my first concert. They were the last concert I went to before moving for WWE. I went to their concert the day before moving to Tampa to go to FCW. And so it was so cool to meet Jarrett, and he's a huge WWE fan. When he first started in music, his stage name was Jarrett Von Erich, because he was such a fan of the Von Erichs and Michael Hayes, and he was just loves WWE, all things WWE, and I was a fan for him. He was a fan for WWE and me, and so it was just so funny. We were just like kind of geeking out over each other, and then they ended up writing a song about me, which was even cooler. So I was like, your favorite band, one, you meet your favorite band, two, they know who you are, and three, they end up writing a song about you, which is like
crazy.
The coolest thing ever. Like, 15, 16-year-old me, that's what 15, 16-year-old Alexa Bliss was doing. She was sitting in her room listening to Bowling for Soup with her little, I still had stuff from Limited 2 in my room because I matured a little later than everyone else. But I was obsessed, and I was wearing, I have this bottle cap belt that I still have that I got when I was 15. It's a bottle cap belt, and it had a seatbelt buckle that clips in the front. And I was always wearing like Vote for Pedro shirts at school. I always got made fun of for that too, because I had this one outfit that I would wear every week, and it was a Vote for Pedro shirt. And it was a jean skirt with tube socks and Chucks, and my bottle cap belt. And I thought I was cool. And
that actually really is like peak mid 2000s look, though. So you might have been on point with that.
Maybe, but it's one thing when you wear it every once in a while, but I wore it once a week. So it was like I was that girl that kept repeating this. Everyone's like, God, like, what are you doing? But whatever.
Hey man, I know how it is, man. I grew up, like I say, there in the ghetto, so I had to rotate. We used to say mix and match, make it work. But awesome though. But the podcast, Uncool. Tell everybody how they can listen to it. That's first and foremost.
Yeah, you can see clips of it on YouTube. You can also you can hear it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you download your podcast. I know there's also some episodes that are going on the WWE Network, which is awesome. The visual point of them are going to be on the network. And it was, it's pretty accessible. So it's out there.
I'm trying to get Hall of Fame on the network. I'm trying, maybe you can hook me up, you know what I mean? Let me know who I need to call. I've been around for a minute, you know what I mean? But ain't nobody called me yet. But, I know you got to get out of here. But before we let you go, Alexa, I would be remiss, if I didn't ask, what actually happened, at that compound, with you and Bray Wyatt. I mean, because everybody, I know Brad want to know. I know everybody that's listening inside the Hall of Fame right now, they want to know what the hell went down at the compound with Bray Wyatt. Alexa.
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 What went down with you and the Fiend?
Wait a minute. I think
she's gone.
She's gone.
Well, look, I guess we should wrap it up.
Maybe it's a technical difficulty. Maybe hold on a second. Maybe she's going to come back. Let's just go to break. Hey guys, stick around. More Hall of Fame. Back in a minute.